So I always like to say that a good painting is based on a good drawing. The water-based colored pencils marry the two disciplines because we're drawing and we're drawing in color. So in this lesson, we're going to teach you to create unity in your work using washes with the colored pencils. We're going to learn how to mix colors without necessarily having to use local color, but instead we're going to create optical mixtures. We're going to gain control and creativity with our color usage. And another thing I like to say, remember, it's never a one color solution. So we're going to help you to get comfortable with these materials. And the great thing about the colored pencils is that they're easy to use on the fly, on location, on your travels. Okay. So let's just talk about colored pencils. The medium itself is a little bit different from the paint mediums we've been talking about. We've got a gum binder binding the pigment. There is a clay filler. But what's so fabulous about the pencils, the watercolor pencils can be used in two ways. We can hit them with water, creating transparent washes, and we can use them like a regular pencil to create linear drawings and optical mixtures in layers. Remember though, like all of our watercolor medium, with the exception of acrylic, your surface will not seal. It always remains water soluble, so you're going to want to put your finished drawings under glass or plexiglass. We're going to draw on paper. This is a thicker paper, and we'll talk a little bit more about different kinds of paper you can use. It is like watercolor in that we have to preserve our whites. We can't use a white pencil on top to bring up our lights. We have to save them, okay? And because we can't physically mix the colors, we can't mix white in like we would with paint, it's really beneficial, if you can, to spring for the biggest set possible. And what that will do for you is it gives you a range of colors with reduced saturations, in other words, colors with white already mixed into them. And what you might want to do when you get your set is take a look at the primaries and secondaries and kind of match those up to your color wheel so that you know if you layer a primary red and a primary yellow, you're going to create your secondary. Then also take a look at some pencils with a reductive value, meaning it's got white mixed into it as opposed to a saturated color. So here we've got a violet that's saturated and a violet with white mixed into them. So the biggest set possible is always advised. I'm gonna just jump right in and start showing you two of the major differences in the ways that we can use our colored pencils. I'm gonna use the word tonal and linear. So in a tonal usage of the pencil, I'm not showing you any line. It's just a continuous veil of color in a way. So that's a tonal usage, as opposed to, and watch, I even hold the pencil differently, a linear usage, which we're going to do quite a bit of because I love working linearly, is line. Now, here's the magic. Watch what happens when I hit both the tonal and the linear with water. Just a word about my water source. This is the world's smallest Tupperware container. It's really good for travel. It seals perfectly and it never leaks. So it's been all over the world with me. Watch when I hit this with water. Wow. So it becomes sort of bright and saturated and the lines completely disappear. But when I hit the linear with water, I don't completely use the lines, and you may often want that kind of effect. Again, so tonal and linear, hitting it with a wash. The next thing we're going to do is talk about creating secondaries and also neutralizing. So let's talk about orange. You know that orange is a mixture of yellow and red. So we're going to put down a block of yellow here and here. But we're going to treat them, let's do 3 swatches. I'll show you 3 different ways. We're going to treat them differently. So the first swatch, I'm going to hit with water, and I'm going to get that beautiful tonal wash. Look how bright that gets. Okay? I'm going to hit the second one as well, and I'm going to leave the third one alone. So we're waiting for the first two to dry. I'm going to lightly hatch over the red. And hopefully what begins to happen is you get an optical mixture of the red and yellow, creating an orange. Okay? Now on these two swatches, I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to take the red, and again, if it's kind of wet, it makes a nice, there's that word again, sploochy line. Love that word. And I'm going to hit these two with water. So that's going to effectively mix to an orange. But on this swatch, I'm going to just, again, hatch the red in and not hit it with water. So 3 different ways. And lots of ways to create a line. This guy is still wet. Look what happens. Hey, you know what? I'm going to dip my pencil in here. It makes it even fatter. Look at that gorgeous fat line I can make. So lots of different ways to use the watercolor pencils. They're really versatile. All right, let's talk about neutralizing. So you know that complements are opposite each other on the color wheel, right? And they are used in 2 different ways. They make each other look brighter if you put them right next to each other. There's your red and green. So as they cross over, they look brighter. But the way that we're going to use them mostly is neutralizing. Let's put down a swatch of green. I'm going to make 2 swatches of green. We're going to neutralize them. One I will hit with water, and one I won't. Actually, again, let's go for 3. I'll show you 3 different ways. Okay, so we are hitting the first one with water. See how brilliant it gets when you hit it with water? Nice and bright. And I will also hit the second one with water, but not the third one. The brush I'm using is a little bit smaller and short-handled than the one that I would use for painting. And I like this brush because I travel with it, and you don't need a huge brush. You want it to be, again, a synthetic, softer bristle. Okay, so now I'm going to neutralize the green with red here by physically mixing. Now, a word about mixing. We talked about color being reductive in pigment, meaning the more colors you put in, the less light comes out. So although I can hit the 2 colors with water, I wouldn't do my drawing and then hit the whole thing with water, because I guarantee you will end up with mud. So now I've dulled the green and the red and mixed them to sort of a neutralized brown. In this one, which we hit with water, so we have a tonal field, I'm just going to hatch my red in. And you can see that dullness beginning to happen. So it's not like I've made a new color, I'm neutralizing the green. This could be used when you have a green tree way off in the distance. I don't want it to be bright green because it will come forward. I might do a veil of red or even pink over it. In this last one, I'm not hitting it with water at all. And you can really see the neutralization. So remember that your neutralized complementary pairs, there are 3, red, green, orange, blue, violet, yellow. And you can play and do those exercises with all of them and just have some fun, experiment with dipping your pencil in. Another thing to think about is your gesture and your line. When I'm on the phone, I doodle and get that wrist going. So you can experiment with your mark making as well. We are going to really get into it next and create a landscape. We're going to use all of these different techniques, the washes, the line, and the mixing to create a colored pencil, watercolor pencil landscape.